They got you hooked up to the mic, right? Okay. Good morning. I didn't know the mic's going to be that loud. Good to see everybody this morning. By the way, I am giving out autographs. If those that see me on TV, 3 seconds of fame. I tell Pete, Pete, you owe me big time. Irving was in it too. They got us in a talking one. I don't think you ever hear us talk. So anyway, good to see everyone this morning. This morning we have a visitor with us. His name is Walter Williams. Walter Williams is one of the people in management at Mountain States Children's Home in Longmont, Colorado. They do take children from Texas, from all over, and he'll tell you a lot more about the home. We visited there several times, and it's a well-run home. It's run by the Church of Christ. They have a group of elders there in Longmont that oversee it, and plus they have a very good reputation throughout Colorado, New Mexico, and Texas as well. So I'm going to turn it over to Walter. He's going to do the class, and he also is going to do the Sunday morning service. So good to see everybody.
Thank you, Lonnie. Lonnie and I go way back. He's my buddy. Thank you so much for letting me come and give a report on Mountain States Children's Home. Are there any other people here that have been to the campus in Longmont? No. Okay. Wow. So I'm glad I brought some pictures of what we look like. We're in a very beautiful part of the country, Colorado, and this is the view from campus looking toward the Front Range. We're about 45 minutes north of Denver, so it's a nice area. When we got started, Elmer Richards was an elder at the West Cedar Church of Christ in Denver, and he and 4 other men decided that they were tired of sending children to other states to get the help they need. They need to open a children's home right here in Colorado. So that got started in 1960, and we've been going strong ever since. So this is Long's Peak and Meeker Peak. I call them the Twin Peaks, and I like this image because the children get to see this every day when they wake up. I like to tell these kids, you can climb as high as you want in life. Just keep doing the right thing, stay close to God, pray, and you can reach amazing heights. So this is kind of a neat image I like to start with. So our campus is on 155 acres. We're out in farm country. So we raise beef and pork, and we help children. The men that started the children's home decided that they wanted to get somewhere outside of Denver because a lot of the kids' issues were urban. They're in urban, in the city. We wanted to be out so they can breathe good country air, and so this is the place they found. Each man took out a second mortgage on their home to purchase this property back in 1960. So we own it outright, and we're tax exempt. So we're fiscally conservative. We can put all the money toward the children. Well, about 80% of it anyway, minus operations. So the original farmhouse is here, and that's still there. We used to have a barn right here, but one of the kids back in the 70s, from what I understand, burned it down, got a hold of some matches, and kids are going to be kids, I guess. That's why the original barn's no longer there, but we've built on quite a bit. This is our farm facility. We keep our pigs over here, and our cattle get to roam in this area. We raised alfalfa hay. This is all our property along here, and this is our pivot system that raises hay. We not only feed our animals, but we also sell hay to local ranchers for their livestock, and it's a good operation. It helps us, stay privately funded and fulfill our budget every year. We have 5 homes. There's one here, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And these homes are where the children actually live with the house parents. And we'll get into a little bit more of how that is part of our program here in a little bit. Our administration building is right here, and this is our school building. Then we have our little storage facility. So it's a well-run, big campus. We have a lot of room to continue to grow. So I like to show this. This is facing north, going toward Wyoming. And then this is facing south, headed down to Denver. This is Highway 281. We're not Ohio State fans. That looks like an Ohio State, and I can't stand it. But that's a little cul-de-sac where the kids, they get to play in this little center area. It's all grass. And this is our newest home we built in 2018. And we're going to start construction on a new home next month. That's going to go right next door. It's going to be the same blueprint as here. And it's taken us a long time, almost 2 years, to get a permit passed through Boulder County. That's about the most left-leaning town imaginable. And they don't like what we do because we put Christ first. We don't take any state or government funds. We're private. We pray, we go to church, that sort of thing. It goes against the narrative that's in Boulder County. So they just make it hard on us. That's a residence. It's not a business. So we're trying to get it permitted as a residence rather than a commercial building. It's going to save us several thousands of dollars. And they finally gave us our permit that it is a residence. It's not a business, a commercial property. So we're really excited about our future growth. So anyway, here's our gates. So I'd like to welcome you all to Mountain States Children's Home. And let's get to some good stuff here. Like I said, we were born in 1960. We've been around for 60 years. This is our 60th birthday. We had all these great plans to share our 60th birthday with the community, but obviously we weren't able to do any of them because they were all in the summertime. So we kind of had to quarantine and make sure our kids are safe. Being a child care facility, we had extra effort to make sure we were safe. We had to send some children home to be with their families, but we were able to limit guests to come on campus, and we were really careful with making sure that the virus didn't catch us or none of that stuff. So anyway, our mission at Mountain States Children's Home is to extend professional services to wounded children in an effort to meet their physical needs, heal their emotional hurts, to challenge their minds, and teach them moral principles in order to reunite them with their family or prepare them for independence. And this is accomplished utilizing a family model of care strengthened by professional counselors and teachers. So since 1960, we've grown. We have 5 homes with 24 beds, so we can care for 24 children. When we build this new home, we'll have room for 6 more, so that'll bring our capacity up to 30. And then over the next 10 years, depending on kind of how finances go and that sort of thing, we plan to build 2 more homes of the same blueprint across the way. So that'll give us room for 42 children, which is really exciting. We're the only children's home in the state of Colorado that operates without state or government funding, and that's by design. We don't want the government coming in telling us what we can and can't do, or they're going to pull funding. We're just not going to do that. So we rely on people, businesses, our thrift store, our farm, grants. That's how we raise our money every year. And we're preventative. We're the last resort in many cases before a child enters the system. We've rescued children from bad foster care situations. We see a lot of kids come from broken homes, divorce, drug, alcohol abuse, those kinds of environments. And we give them a new place to live that has God at its center. We don't discriminate. We take any child, doesn't matter what religion, doesn't matter what you look like, it just doesn't matter. We're going to help children in need. And, we provide help for these parents and guardians that they might have a child that's acting up beyond the parent's level of care. I know when I was a kid, I challenged my parents quite a bit. Surprised I didn't end up here, but luckily my parents had a lot of patience, so that really helps. But anyway, we're the last resort when there's no other viable resource for these kids. The average employee retention for our staff is 14 years, and the average tenure for our house parents is 8 years. We take good care of our house parents. That's the toughest job on earth, in my opinion. I asked my wife one day, you want to be house parent? She's like, no, I can't do that. I have 2 daughters of my own, and I can barely keep them in line. But have a lot of love and respect for our house parents. But we give them 3 weeks on and then 1 week off to make sure that they stay fresh, because they're dealing with 6 troubled children at a time. Our budget for this year is $2.2 million. We are, again, very fiscally conservative. We don't just blow money. When I take somebody to lunch, I get water. We watch our nickels and dimes, because that really adds up. It's expensive to run this home, and we want to do the best we can to make sure that we are conservative with our money. We've balanced our budget every year except for 92, 2001, 2002, when obviously we had 9/11, we had hurricanes, things like that. So, we take good care of our money. 76% of our funding comes from individuals, 10% comes from churches, 14% comes from other, including events, our thrift store, farm, writing grants, that sort of thing. So supporting the children's home is scriptural. We're familiar with James 1:27, to look after the widow and orphan. We are dealing with modern day orphans. You know, the old term of orphan, you know, people think of Annie or, you know, some child who have lost both their parents. And we've had children like that come in. But most of our kids are social orphan. They've been abandoned by their father. They're being raised by a single parent. They might be homeless. You know, they might have made bad choices to where they don't have a family unit. But these children are alone, so we need to help them. And this is essentially looking after the orphan. As far as the widow is concerned, a lot of these women who have children that place their children with us have been abandoned by their husband or their boyfriend or whatever the father figure is. That's due to, in many cases, spousal abuse, you know, domestic violence. We have a lot of children that come from a single parent who is fleeing a domestic violence. They're living on a couch, or, you know, that's a homeless family. That's a child that really needs a stable environment. So that's what we take care of. And our therapeutic program, which I'll get into more detail in a little bit, is designed to help the family unit, not just the child. We provide counseling for each child, but in many cases we'll bring in the mom or the family unit and do a group counseling to try to prepare the home for the child to return once the child gets better in our care. So that's a very comprehensive program that we offer. There's a great need in the state of Colorado especially. You know, we're a privately funded, licensed residential group care facility. We're not a treatment center, we're not foster care, but we do a lot of the similar work by providing a safe haven, basic needs, you know, psychological services, education, those kinds of things. And there's really three major reasons why we must exist and we must continue to grow. 10 years ago in the state of Colorado, there were 46 residential group care facilities in the state. Today there's 23, so that's 50% less. In the last 2 years, 8 more facilities have closed their doors. And this represents the loss of about 500 beds to the system. So the state is shifting away from residential group care and shifting more toward foster care or kinship care. And that's what really sets us apart from other, you know, group care facilities or children's homes, is that we don't just give basic needs, we give so much more, which is why our little slogan is a deeper level of care. We really help the whole being. You know, we're a mind, we're a body, we're a spirit. You know, we address all of those at our children's home. So in 2005, there was 1,483 placements into residential group care. Last year, there was just 543. And in 2005, there were 716 placements into kinship, which is placing a child, you know, removing them from a toxic situation, place them with a relative. And that relative may or may not be licensed to care for children. It's just basically putting a Band-Aid on the situation. And for some reason, the state feels that that's more effective than the type of care that we provide. But just last year, there was 2,471 placements into kinship care. So you can see the shift over time since 2005. So this is a new trend, and you know, we want to be the alternative to state-run and state-funded programs. The foster care is roughly $60 more per child per month, and of course foster care is just cram as many kids into a foster family as you can and just hope for the best, basic needs. But we do so much more. So we're making an eternal difference in the child's life versus just providing basic care. And I'm not here to say that all foster care is bad, because there's some great foster families and situations in the world. There are a lot of statistics that are related to foster care. There's an organization called America's Kids Belong. It's a 501c3 organization that mobilizes government, faith-based, business, creative leaders around the goal of permanency and belonging for every child. And they put out some statistics about foster care. 1 in 4 will experience PTSD in their lifetime, which is more than twice that of veterans. Adolescents that have been in foster care are nearly 4 times more likely to have attempted suicide than other youth. The stats vary widely, but nearly all show that a majority of child sex trafficking victims have been in foster care. It's about 70%. 43% of children in foster care have used drugs by the age of 13, compared to 19% of those children that are not in foster care. For children who have aged out of foster care, about a third state that they currently have drug or alcohol problems. 56% of male foster youth have spent time in jail. Less than half will graduate high school. It's around 30% in the state. And less than 3% will earn a college degree. About half will have a job at age 24, and 1 in 5 will be homeless by the age of 18. And half of female foster youth will have been pregnant by the age of 19 and more likely to have children in foster care. So it's a system, it's a cycle that we're trying to break. We had a little testimony from Preston, one of our kids, who used to be in foster care. And this is what he wrote. Living in a foster family is all I've ever known. It was stressful because I never knew when social services would come and make me move again. I was being forced to live with strangers. It was confusing and overwhelming. They were not always good people, and I never knew if I could trust them. I didn't understand why I could not be happy. It was like a slap in the face whenever I was uprooted. Now that I live at Mountain States Children's Home, I am free. It's easy to share my feelings with my counselor and house parents. I now have clarity. My life is now consistent with structure and a routine. I finally have a family, and I finally feel loved. So what a turnaround from being in foster care. Could you imagine not having a permanent place to live, not having a room to call your own, not knowing when you're going to be told you have to move again? We don't want that for our children, so we're going to continue to provide these services. So Preston is a success story, one of many that we see at the Children's Home. You know, healing and restoration for wounded children doesn't happen with just providing basic needs. We have to do more. And that more includes Christ. Again, we're mind, we're body, we're spirit, and each aspect needs to be addressed to pave the journey towards being healing. So these children live in a safe, secure environment. They get to see pigs get born. They get to see cows, and they get to play on 1960s playground equipment that burns your legs. It's more fun than this plastic stuff that they put out now. But, you know, the common thing that all our children, though, they all are struggling. They all come from broken homes. They're all privately placed. We don't take state placements. They come from our schools, from our churches. You know, we've placed children from Texas. We've placed children from Florida. We have a boy here now that's from New York, and he's like the coolest kid on campus. You're from New York? Wow. But we'll take children in from anywhere. But 66% of our children come from the state of Colorado, which is most. We had another letter that came in from a mom whose daughter was placed at Mountain States Children's Home not long ago. And she writes, "My stepdaughter is a 14-year-old girl that had the misfortune of being dealt the consequence of her biological mother's alcohol abuse problem. She'd been diagnosed with several different disabilities: fetal alcohol syndrome, reactive attachment disorder, PTSD, and bipolar. After several attempts to get her help, we discovered Mountain States Children's Home. Our daughter was first enrolled in the program at age 12. So at this time, she was in all special education classes and still doing poorly or failing most of her classes. She was constantly in trouble at home, and the police were frequently called out to the house due to her violent outbursts and unsafe behavior. So within a few months after placement at Mountain States Children's Home, we began seeing great improvements in her behavior. She even started to smile again. Once she was enrolled in the on-campus school, her grades were all up, and she gained some of her self-esteem back. Due to the family structure and guidance offered by the home, she was able to meet and exceed her goals. Almost 1 year later, she successfully completed the program and was able to return to our home. She's been home for almost 5 months now and has grown significantly. She's now on the National Honor Roll Society, and she's been able to reintegrate herself in our home. With the counseling she received at Mountain States, she was able to manage her anger and feelings appropriately and effectively without losing control or her self-esteem. I cannot begin to tell you how fortunate we were to have been able to place our daughter and trust in this program. In our opinion, there isn't anything you could do that would be better for your son or daughter who needs care for one reason or another. Mountain States is and will always be a blessing to our family. Thank you." So this is the kind of success that we get to enjoy every day. I remember when I first started at the Children's Home, I would meet these children. I was in intake, so I would interview the families, determine if the child was within our level of care. And at first it was so hard. I mean, it broke my heart. I just couldn't stand seeing these children just come in broken and crying, and they wouldn't kiss or hug their mom goodbye because they were mad. And then I realized one day that they're in a great place now. So I was able to kind of convert over to, okay, I'm happy again. It's just hard to see children broken and suffering, but when you see them turn around and see them go from failing grades to honor society, it's such a blessing. And you supporting us are a big part of that. So that's what you're doing. This is Christ in action at the Children's Home. The children that we see, they all have common situations. Poverty is one of them. There's a major problem facing children at this time of our life. In the United States, a child is born into poverty every 33 seconds. That basically breaks down to about 25% of children are considered poor. About 2,500 babies are born into poverty each day. And, poverty is just one of those realities in life. We've all struggled, we've all gone through hardships and that sort of thing. But when it comes to children, not having nutritious meals, not having a pair of cleats to play football, that's going to wear on this child. It's going to break them down. It's going to hurt them socially. People are going to make fun of them because they have to wear the same pair of jeans every day to school. There's just a lot of fallout, from that. A lot of the kids come to us, they lack cleanliness, they don't know proper hygiene. They go to the fridge and they start hoarding food in their bedroom because they think that they may not be able to eat the next day, so they want to stock up. These are the kind of things that we see. Physical abuse, including sexual, even emotional abuse, can be the result of stress and anger that the parent or guardian has faced because of, lack of funding. And, the result can be poor academic performance, lack of social development, a lot of other negative behaviors. So this is what we see on a daily basis. Another thing is homelessness. The homelessness problem in Colorado is vast. I see families on the side of the road a lot with their little signs. That's a scary thing. There's about 250 children in the St. Vrain Valley School District, which is Longmont where we're located, that are homeless. 250 children are homeless. About 70% are double up, which is living with other families, couch surfing. 24% live in shelters. 4% are unsheltered. And the statistic says 2% live in hotels, which I don't see how that works, but there's a big problem out here. In terms of our country, the real homeless problem is a lot more prevalent than we may see. There's a lot of single-parent families that are fleeing domestic violence, like I said before, that become homeless. And a lot of those families are not counted in the typical statistics because they're not out reaching for resources and help, that sort of thing. So it's big. About 38% of the homeless population are children, and 42% of that group of children are younger than 5 years old. Luckily, we're licensed to take children in as young as 3. We don't see them that young very often. Most of our services are provided toward adolescents. That's, where most of our children come from, but we're able to care as young as 3 up to the age of 17. So when they turn 18, we've, since 1960, had to age them out and say good luck. But we have some good news. I'm going to get to that in a little bit. It's the Transitional Living Program that's going to help children transition into adulthood, which is a very exciting part of our future. Families with children, mostly single-parent families, are the fastest growing segment of the homeless population. And youth today, when I was a kid, I would get in trouble for chewing gum in the hallway. Nowadays, children are getting in trouble for bringing guns to school. It's a different society. And I think a lot of that has to do with a lack of respect for authority. Kids are just being brought up just willy-nilly. They can do whatever they want. You can't spank them. I was spanked when I was a kid. I'm glad for it too. But a lot of kids just grow up. They're doing a lot worse things these days than when I was growing up. But invariably, most of our kids are from broken homes. They are, struggling with a lot of things that, we as a society have, here, children that are here in church, God bless you for bringing them. That's great. We need to keep, our parenting skills up. I have a daughter who's 16. A few years ago, she had a friend she wanted to go hang out with. So my wife and I put her in the car. We went over there, and, we weren't just going to drop her off. We wanted to meet the mom who came out, and, we could smell weed. Marijuana is legal in Colorado. And so we get up there, and we're like, do you let your child smoke weed? Well, only on the weekends. So we put Macy back in the car and took her home. And that just wasn't a good environment. So parenting has gone down the tubes in a lot of cases, and we get to see that on a daily basis. So in 1960, when the homeless started, the average number of children born to an unwed mom was about 6%. In 2016, the average was increased to 43%, and that's the United States average. So almost half parents are being born to an unwed mother. And single parenthood, it's really actually become very common today. You know, the recent census, there are about 13.7 million single parents in our country, raising about 22 million children. Not all single parents families are a bad thing. That's absolutely not the case, because there are some rock star single moms working 2 jobs, going to school, and that child's well fed and well cared for. We just see the situations that aren't that good, and we see that a lot. There's just a higher likelihood of dysfunction being raised by a single parent. I couldn't stand it when my mom was home after school every day because I couldn't go get in trouble with my friends. You know, there's so many kids that are turnkey, or something. There's a term for it. That's the child that has their house key attached to them some way to their backpack, and they have to let themselves in their home after school because there's a single parent that has to work. That child's just, you know, going to look for trouble and find other ways to entertain themselves rather than being at home being raised. So, you know, the children that come from dysfunctional families, they're statistically more likely to be dysfunctional themselves as adults, which is continuing the same cycle. And we want to aim to break that cycle. Adolescents, they're, you know, being raised by a single parent, they're more likely to have lower educational attainment, more likely to experiment with illegal drugs, you know, have sex at a younger age, have births outside of marriage because they're not being raised. They're just raising themselves as children. And, well, I know from being a child once that we don't always make the best decisions. You know, so we want to teach these children how to make better decisions. As they're young adults, they're more likely to have lower occupational status and income and have more troubled marriages and more divorces than those born into stable families. So that's why we want to reinforce the nuclear family and give these children a mother and father figure. That's what we do. So emotional damage, you know, all the children that come to us, they're angry, resentful, they've all been hurt some way. And, but what a great time to teach them about Christ is when they come to a new environment, they get to eat, they get to be around other children that have gone through similar terrible situations, they can bear each other's burdens, they can talk things through, and telling them about Christ, this is a great time to do that because they're very open to hope, they're open to love, they're open, to these Christian values that we harness in our heart and we're able to share. So they're all similar when they come in. They have trouble making friends usually at the start, but the new kid on the block, whenever they get placed, they're the most popular person on campus. All the other kids want to know who the new kid is. What's your story? That happened to you too. It happened to me too. And these are friendships that get built and they last a long time. And it's just a good environment to be in. Kenzie's a girl that was placed. She wrote, "We're always together at Mountain States Children's Home, like a real family. We know each other better and can share our faults with each other. My house parents and house sisters make me feel like I belong. Mountain States Children's Home is not bad unless I make it bad. I'm accountable for my actions. I'm no longer trapped. I am free now." There's that free word again. "Everyone at Mountain States Children's Home wants what's best for me. I feel loved." There's that love word again too. That's what these children get to experience when they come. Love is a central theme. The deeper level of care that we provide these kids is what sets us apart from foster, kinship, other residential group care programs. And again, we're whole beings. We're body, mind, and spirit, and we focus on the whole being. When we read in Luke chapter 2, verse 52, "And Jesus grew in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and man." That defines us perfectly. We want to say that about every child that comes through our doors. We want them to grow. We want them to be better. So we'll start with the wisdom part. We have an on-campus school. It's a beautiful building. It used to be in the basement of cottage number 2. You open up the cellar doors, and there the children go one by one to school. It's like, oh, kind of eerie. We need a school building. So we raised money about 13 years ago, and we're able to build this beautiful school building. All children begin at this school when they get placed. We do an academic assessment to find out what grade level they test at, and 100% of these kids are behind. They're all struggling with something. Some of the kids come in like 9th grader reading at a 5th grade level. So our school is set up with curriculum that starts with Bible, and then we cover a broad spectrum of curriculum, anywhere from basic reading, basic math, all the way up to chemistry, algebra, so we can run the whole thing. So all children start there. We have a small student-to-teacher ratio. We have 2 staff teachers that are paid, and we have 3+ volunteer teachers that come in. Paul and Dan are 2 of our teachers that they volunteer their time. They come in because they love it, and they're very smart, so they can teach algebra. We got one teacher with a boy and a girl learning algebra. You can imagine how much easier that crazy stuff is when you have a person you can just work one-on-one with. So they advance very quickly. The average academic grade level of achievement per year is four grade levels. So they're catching up 4 grade levels per year on average because of this learning environment. It's pretty cool. We have a 100% graduation rate. So when children get in, they get caught up to their grade level. We'll transition them to the Longmont Christian School, which is a private school in Longmont, to where they can graduate if they stay with us long enough, but it's an accredited school, and they will graduate. It's part of our program. If they stay with us until they turn 18, they will graduate high school. The national graduation rate for high school students is 84%. In the state of Colorado, 75% of children graduate high school. Colorado foster care is less than 25% graduation rate. So you can see the vast difference between foster care and being in an environment like this. Healthy mind, healthy body. This is our gym. Girls playing basketball, having a good time. You see the CrossFit equipment in the back was donated by some people in Fort Collins that love the home. They came out, worked CrossFit. We're able to certify our counselor Dustin as certified CrossFit trainer, and the kids love it. The guys and girls, they get competitive. They want to be stronger than the next kid. So it's a really neat environment for these children to breathe and work out and have a good time with each other and learn CrossFit. We also do Hungry Hungry Hippo. We put children on these little sleds, tie a little bungee cord around them, and slide them across the gym floor, and they have to pick up a ball before the other kids. It's so safe. Kids falling all over the place. It's great. Kids like to have fun. Our basketball goals were donated by the Denver Nuggets. So we get to tell kids, hey, Shaq dunked on this goal. Maybe you can dunk on it too. So we just try to build these children up in every way possible. So Jesus also grew in stature. So the stature for these children is the home and basic needs. Like I said, we have 5 cottages here on campus. This is a McGinty home. That's a boys' home. This is the girls' home here. And Zach is a house dad here. And we pray for Zach a lot. He has 6 girls. He's married. He has 2 girls of his own. And I think their dog's even a girl. So Zach is surrounded by girls. But he's a wonderful guy. And we love Zach and Carrie. This is our newest cottage, the one that we're building a new one just like this. And what's really cool about this one, it's a girls' cottage, and each room has its own bathroom. So there's no fighting over the curling iron in the morning. House parents love it. And we just placed a new set of house parents here. We had some retire, the Powells, and now we have Cliff, and I always forget her name because they're still so new, but they get to live in this beautiful home. And then finally, there's some of that 60s playground equipment. Anybody remember these monkey bars? What's the deal with the big open hole on the top? I mean, is that just a fall through? No, but we have some neat things for the kids to do outside, play. And we encourage playing outside. We don't, play video games, and we might every once in a while, but you come on campus, you get to see kids out running, playing, riding their bikes, riding their skateboards, and it's just a really cool environment to grow up. The most important part, in my opinion, is favor with God. Okay, we do have a spiritual component. And, becoming a Christian is cool. It's cool to be a Christian on campus. Children come out here broken. They see these other children that used to be broken, but now they're happy. They're well-adjusted. They're doing great in school. Children see that, and they want some of that. And that's essentially what being a Christian is all about. You can't just open the Bible and say, you must believe this, and trust that everybody's going to listen and do that. But by living Christ, by showing Christ through what we do, how we talk, that's what really gets people's attention. And that's what the children do. They are little disciples running around campus. They get the gospel. I don't care if you're Muslim, if you're Catholic, it doesn't matter when you come into the home. And we're not going to force you to believe anything. That's not effective. But we're definitely going to introduce these children to the gospel. And they have ears to hear, so that's the central part of our program. This is a group from Texas. Everything's bigger in Texas, right? This is the biggest group that we ever had on campus. This was last summer, and we had 4 groups come up, Canyon Lake, Lavernia, Kerrville, and drawing a blank. But anyway, had a big group come up. They did work for about 5 days and had devotionals. This is one of the devotionals. Group visits come along, throughout the year. We have sojourners in the fall. During the summer, every week we have a different youth group come out. We have a group from Tennessee, Nebraska, Texas. So we're trying to get more famous in the world so that people can, not only fund us and help us, continue to work with these children, but we definitely want to be a resource for families that are struggling, no matter where you live. This is what you can have if you need it. This is a picture of our church building. We have some wonderful elders. We are overseen by the elders of the Longmont Church of Christ. And some of the elders are pretty cool. We have Bill, who's a retired FBI agent. And then we have Paul. He's an actual rocket scientist that works for Ball Aerospace. So these children get to see these men and, wow, I could be a rocket scientist too. I could be an FBI agent. So really excellent elders that do a good job, and they keep us in line, make sure that we're doing what we need to do with our resources. The ultimate measure of success, in my opinion, is this right here. These children hear the gospel, they believe, they obey, they get baptized. So that's one thing they can take with them when they leave. And we can't make these children be their best once they leave the program, but all of these things add up in these children's minds and their hearts when they leave the program, that invariably they're going to stay in church, they're going to continue to pray, and continue to be a shining light for other people that they meet through life. Now finally, we have favor with man. This is our counseling component. When children come in, again, they're broken. We do a psychological assessment. It's called the MOS. Let's call it MOS. It's Multidimensional Adolescent Assessment Scale. It's a survey. It's a self-administered survey where children answer lots of questions. Have you ever felt stressed? Have you ever tried drugs? Those kinds of questions. When children come in, they're broken, and this is just how broken they are. That green area represents 40% of children at the time of placement. That's almost half the children come to us. They have between 10 and 16 areas of therapeutic need. One area is, let's say, stress. Another area would be depression. Okay, that's 2. These children come in between 10 and 16 areas of therapeutic concern. The red is 45%. That's between 5 and 9 areas. And then the blue represents those that come in between 0 and 4, which is where most of society is. These are kids, like Amanda, who didn't have parents. She was pretty well adjusted, but she didn't have anywhere else to go. So she was able to be placed and grow up with us. And she just graduated high school, and she's attending Oklahoma Christian this fall. So we're really excited for her. So this is at the time of placement. After about a year to year and a half, which is the average stay for most children, this is what that chart looks like. You see the green part's gone. They're better. 25% of the children are still suffering between 5 and 9 areas, but that blue area, that's 75% of the kids after a year. They have between 0 and 4 areas of therapeutic need. So they're better. They're feeling better about themselves. They're well adjusted. They have their grades up. They're fed. They can focus, concentrate. But most of all, they feel love. And that's the best of these. This is why these children heal so quickly, because of the deeper level of care. We're far more comprehensive than just counseling or just basic need. When you roll all of these things in together, these children just grow like a rose. It's a really beautiful thing. But again, ultimately, this is what it's all about, is teaching the gospel. So we have a bright future. We have a few more minutes to cover our future. And this is the exciting part. We're currently in a capital campaign. These are kind of daunting, but it's fun to see how people step up and help support our goals. We are getting close. We have raised, where are we? We have raised $5.2 million out of our $7 million goal. So if anybody here wants to write us a check for $1.8 million, we can put the capital campaign to bed. We're done. So we're coming along really well. We had a goal of being done by the end of this year, but we kind of had some breaks on our plans this year. But we've had a lot of people continue their support in such a great way that we're actually doing a little bit better than we did last year. That's the kind of people that support us. We have plans to build our 6th home, like I mentioned before. That's taking place next month. And what's really neat about that is there's an organization called Home Aid in Colorado. This consists of a bunch of builders and people, excavators, easy for me to say, painters, those kinds of, commercial construction kind people that come together and they're like, okay, who are we going to bless with our resources, our time, and our money? And they chose us, Mountain States Children's Home. So we did a matching to raise the money. One of these cottages costs right around $1 million because there's so much to them. But we're able to get Home Aid to bless us by building a cottage, and we were able to raise the rest of the money, so we're fully funded, ready to build, which is really exciting. We also have to expand our office, because as the trend in childcare in Colorado continues in the direction it's going, less and less resources means more and more placement inquiries to Mountain States Children's Home. So we have to add on to our office building. So we're going to add another wing for counseling and some of our staff. We've replaced our aging vans. You don't want to carry children around in broken vehicles, that's for sure. So we were able to get some good, gently used passenger vans on campus. We still need a couple of Suburbans, but we'll get to that. Suburbans are good for grocery runs. We do collect groceries around the United States. We pull a trailer and we come back, that thing's just bursting at the seams. But we need a couple new Suburbans. And then ultimately our transitional living program is where I'd like to spend the rest of our time. This is an alternative to aging children out when they're 18. We had 3 girls graduate, Jaden, Janae, and Amanda. I got it right. There's Amanda on the bottom. She's the one that's attending OCU. And then Jaden up top, she gets to live in our new facility that we're in the process of buying. Part of our capital campaign is this program. And this is a property that's in the town of Berthoud. That's where I live. That's about 3 miles north of the Children's Home campus. The Children's Home is right between Longmont and Berthoud. So we found this property. We were going to purchase a property that was 2 doors down from our existing campus. For God reasons, that fell through. And for God reasons, this property came on the market, and we found it. It's like a motel. We have individual units, like 1, 2. That's Jaden's little car. That's her little house right now. And you should have seen the look on her face when we took her there and showed her, this is where you get to live. Because she chose to enter the transitional living program. She's, Amanda and she are the first 2. She can attend college, she can attend trade school, or she can work in the area, and we're going to pay for it. We don't want these children to have student debt. We want to give them their future on a silver platter and say, if you want to take advantage, you want to continue in this program, here you go. What do you want to do? And so Jaden just, started crying. She was just so excited to think, this is my place. I can hang my own curtains. This is my place. She'd never had that before. So this is the future of the home. We intend to continue giving children opportunities once they turn 18. I think I was about 40 before I was ready to kind of, make good choices, but I'm just kidding. These children being as broken as they are, when they turn 18, that does not necessarily mean that they're ready to be adults independently living on their own. So this is our future. And then we also have a little house here, right there, which is part of the units are over here out of the picture, but this is where a kind of a RA person's going to live, a life coach, somebody to administer the transitional living program on site. It's going to be somebody, we haven't hired this person yet, but it's going to be somebody with a counseling background, member of the Church of Christ, somebody that wants to commit their lives to these children and help them, make good choices, hold them accountable. They can't just run out and get in trouble and that sort of thing and stay in the program. They have to give a weekly report and show that they're really trying hard. Jaden decided to enter Front Range Community College. So she'll be going to college and working a little part-time job in the area. We had another girl, Janae, who decided that, I don't really want to enter this program. I graduated high school and I'm going to be on my own now. So she went back to Florida and decided, I'm going to do it on my own. She has called us and said, I don't want to be on my, I want to take advantage of this program. It's an amazing opportunity. So we're in the process. We're going to let her come back, but we want her to understand the decision that she made is what she decided. And it's going to take a little time for her to come back, but hopefully she's going to come back ready and raring to go. So we're excited for that future as well. And finally, ways you can help, obviously, pray for us. We definitely need your prayers. If anybody uses Amazon, you can go to smile.amazon, and you can enter Mountain States Children's Home to be a benefactor of your purchases. We get about $200 a month just from people buying things on Amazon through this smile.amazon program. So I'd encourage you to do that. It's amazing. It doesn't cost you anything. You're making the purchase anyway. Amazon donates, I think it's like half a cent per dollar, but it really adds up. So that's a neat way to help us. We have a sporting clay tournament. If anybody wants to make the trip up next July, we'll be doing a sporting clay tournament. We have a dinner, which Lonnie and Irma Jean have come to, and we have had to cancel it this year, but we're going to be back after it in October of next year. And obviously, individual support. You know, there's many of you in this room that help us, and we are so thankful for that. You know, annuities, you know, put us in your will, you know, those kinds of things are ways that can sustain the home for another 60 plus years. So, and most importantly, tell your friends, tell your rich uncle to take a look at our website, which is msch.org, and that'll help us out quite a bit. So anyway, thank you very much for your time. Thanks.